Oh, more airplanes. How lovely. Oh, well, I don't think KBS World Radio is going to be on right now, but I'll change that. Start off with our usual WWV.
At the tone, 16 hours, 42 minutes, Coordinated Universal Time. At the tone, 16 hours, 43 minutes, Coordinated Universal Time.
Hello, Kidong. Hope you're doing well this morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are. Starting off with the usual WWV on 2.5 and now 5 megahertz.
At the tone, 16 hours, 44 minutes, Coordinated Universal Time.
Let's try 10 megahertz now again. The standard slowly getting weaker. From the skip. And this knob is over here because this is turn on my analog TV transmitter for later. Brought out my Sony TV, which on the back has a sticker saying it was manufactured in February of 1978. And I've had it since at least like 2021.
Hours, 45 minutes, Coordinated Universal Time.
Got it at like a Goodwill for 13 bucks and it works great. But not just leaving it running because brightness isn't that good out in the sun. I'm assuming it was more for nighttime. I don't know if it was like a camper's TV or what, but it has a recharge function, but I don't have any recharge batteries in there. But it's running off of 9 D batteries, so that's lovely. Probably the most power hungry thing on batteries that I own. I mean, my boombox, which we have here as well, runs on 6 D batteries. Let's try 15 megahertz. Oh. Accidentally hit a preset there. Oh, I heard both ticks. Yeah, we got both stations, WWV and WWVH. And I think this is a minute off. I haven't set the clock on here in a while, but I know, as with all radios, the quartz does go off by like a minute or two, so I'll have to reset it again. To which I normally just use WWV or WWVH for that. Mostly WWV. So solar information on WWVH, but there's no way we're gonna hear that. That text-to-speech voice they use is so low audio anyway. Not a great voice to hear through the static. And we'll try real quick here after the minute ends. We'll try WWV and WW, or just WWV 20 and 25, just real quick. Pretty weak, but okay. One thing I never understand with time signals is I usually get the RWM time signal best on 9996, which I usually think I'd get it best on 14996. And I've caught the BPM time signal very, very faintly. I only heard like the pips that they do for the last 5 minutes before identifications at 30 and on the hour. And that was on 10 megahertz. I thought it would be 15 megahertz, but no. Let's try 20 megahertz here. Nothing as I suspected, because it's skipping over me right now. Barely there, 2 on 25 for WWV, but at least I get 2.5 megahertz as like a daily. Ah, there it is. You can hear the beep. Try 14670. Any CHU Canada? Does not sound like it. There's our noise floor here. Pretty good. Alright, let's try with the 16 meter band here. International broadcast band. Oh, tilting over, there we go. Let's see if we get anything good. I think the last time I listened to something on 16 meter band was when there was that Vesti FM test transmission like 2 weeks ago from Moldova. I heard the 14-hour to 15-hour UTC broadcast on 17505, which is good, which is pretty good for it being beamed to the Far East. And I think they were using the rotatable antenna that they have there and a 300 kilowatt transmitter. But I guess that shows that's what they're desperate measures are now to try and Spain 17715 to South America. But I guess that's how Russia is desperate now for anything, if they want anything on shortwave, because transmitters in the Far East have been dismantled, or they've been like mothballed for 10 years or whatever. And I think they just want to try and put a signal on the air without putting any money into it, because there's a transmitter in Yakutsk that's mothballed. But I think it's because the WRMI week there, 17790. But probably because the Moldova one was already active on medium wave and was on shortwave, and they probably had been maintaining the shortwave side. The Kaliningrad transmitter, of course, had shortwave, but those have been removed, so it's only like medium wave that they can do, and maybe long wave, although I think medium wave mostly. And that transmitter, the Cuban radio center, is also pretty slowly being dismantled. And I think they could use the, I'm probably not going to spell it right, the Kulumusk on Amur transmitter in Far East, but that's already in the Far Eastern area that I think they're trying to beam to. So it would have no use because it'd skip over everybody, unless they used a low enough frequency. Haven't checked, but I haven't seen Radio Havana, Cuba in a while. I guess the best way I could check and see if they're still trying to go is if they're trying to relay the China Radio International to North America via Cuba, but that's always a poor decision anyway. But I think unless really somebody steps up, I think it's over for Cuba, unfortunately. Because they were already suffering in 2022 when I started shortwave, but there were times you could hear them at night. And then again, once Arnie Coro passed away in 2023, that was the last time I probably heard Cuba well. It's been 2 years since Cuba has any good modulation or signal that you could at least, sure, it may be low, but it was still audible. Pretty quiet, 19 meters from me, nothing really propagating over here except Spain to North America, but that's basically it. Don't know why they're so weak. I think, is propagation real bad today? I didn't check either, but I wouldn't be surprised. That's all we've ever been getting recently is solar storms from CMEs, I think. Just been CME after CME. And no sign of Vatican Radio today, 15565. Which who knows how long left with Vatican. I think Vatican Radio. I think I heard Vatican Radio is having financial troubles, at least. Or something like that. At least I think there was a, not really noticeable thing, but I think there was a time that they were supposed to shut off shortwave, but they didn't. Or just some miracle happened, but I think at least from what I've heard was I think Vatican Radio is coming to something soon, which I wouldn't be surprised. I think it was last summer schedule season, A24. I think they quietly closed one language or two languages. And I may never know with NHK Japan now. I mean, I don't know if it's, they like extended their Newsline NHK TV from 15 minutes to 30 minutes, so the English broadcast is now just, wasn't the 15 minutes of news and then like story time that you'd usually get on weekends or on weekdays, the easy Japanese lessons that were like 2 years old or something like that at that point, but they were still fun. Now it's just NHK Newsline and that's it for half an hour. Faint WRMR. And wow, it's coming up close to the top of the hour here. For 17 hours UTC, don't know what we could hear. Is that CRI in French at all there? 17765, that's usually a good one. Nothing really, unless that sign's on in a couple minutes, I don't know. Because my camera decides to not focus. Oh, there we go. One thing I do miss is Radio Marti, because Radio Marti was always good on any frequency for me. So you could usually tell when there was some strong solar storm, it would affect Radio Marti a little bit, and I could notice it. So that was one way to get an example of if it was going to take too long to hear Solar Report on WWV, and I was nowhere near my phone or computer to just look online, that it was best to look at Radio Marti. And that sounds like the Madagascar World Voice Transmitter. 13670. Here's some faint modulation there. Here. We got 1 minute to top of the hour. Just see what happens here. 13670. 17765 here. Nothing. Oh, that was China. Oh yeah, I think they use this channel a little bit. I don't know what language this is though. I don't have access to a schedule right now. It's got good reception though. And I don't think this is the Mali relay. I certainly wasn't expecting that. Well, that was cool. We will come back to that channel. One thing I've noticed China doing is they have simplified their sign-on with the March of the Volunteers song. They've really slimmed that down on some languages, which kind of upsets me. Because they don't really have an interval signal at all. And personally, if it were me, I'd do like the first few notes of whatever that is on chimes, like a couple times, and then since they have so many languages, give an ID and whatever the language is, so you at least know what you're gonna hear instead of, here's an empty carrier, good luck. (13760). I think that's probably Voice of Korea. One reason I was thinking the Madagascar will voice is because they also use 13670, but I think they use that after China. So I always forget China uses like that for 2 hours or something, that frequency. And the best time to try and get things from Europe is like now, because otherwise, once it hits nighttime over Europe and Africa, everything moves to those lower frequencies, and it's virtually impossible to hear any signal that's above like 22 meters, maybe some 25 meter ones at like 4 in the afternoon here. But otherwise, then like 30, I think it's spacing the band now. 31 meters, I think it is. 9 megahertz one I'm spacing now. Hold up. Go back here. Yeah, 31 meters. I spaced that. Okay. Anything below 31 meters, like even at 4 o'clock, forget it. Oh, yeah. Heard WWCR, so 13845. They're pretty weak too there. Although I think 13845 is usually weak at this time. I think it's 12160 is the best. Voice of Korea, forgot about them. The North American one. Well, service to North America, this frequency is. But there's some noise because I am right next to the house right now. Because I don't want to get too hot in the sun. And of all the things I have out with me are like black, so I don't want them to absorb heat. This should be KCBS until 1750, and then they'll sign off on this frequency. Not much. Usually 2 English broadcasts for North America on 9435 and 11710. English at 13 UTC, then French. French at 14 UTC. And then it's back to English, and then French, and then KCBS, and they close. but during the summertime after maybe like after the French broadcast at 14 UTC, don't even try 9435. Because the sun has been out enough to absorb any signal in the 31 meter band here. Except some strong religious station. And I'd say myself, I'm pretty dead-ish center in the US, where I'm not like East Coast, where you can get some of the European stations like kind of weak, or like the West Coast, like California, where you can still get some certain stations from Asia at certain times of the day that they wouldn't make it anywhere further than to where I am. So I kind of get a mixture of both, but they're both weak in their ways, so I'm not really best signal for me. Something on 11825. Don't know what it is though. Although it is quite interesting. I guess I think right now, thinking of years ago when there were so many stations on shortwave, I guess technically a shortwave band could be filled right now if all the stations that were on the air right now had like extremely big schedules like China has, or like not even like have to be the same amount, but like if they're expanded to where it's not like, you know, we have 13 broadcasts or we have 20 broadcasts, but like we have 100 different like languages and frequencies in the air or something like that, or not 100 languages, but like we have like 30 languages or something and multiple frequencies on air. I think that would help shortwave, because even like some of the stations now had so many like frequencies on the air back then, more transmitter sites. So sure, there was more stations, but some stations were like had extreme frequencies. I mean, I'm assuming the Radio Moscow of back then is the equivalent of the, whatever that is, the China Radio International of today. And that might be a weak Voice of Korea trying to poke its head through the signal here on 12015. And I'm usually at 13, 1330, and 14. I don't know about 1430 UTC. I can faintly hear Voice of Mongolia on 12015 from the Ulaanbaatar transmitter. And they have a pretty good, not really great signal, not actually pretty good signal, pretty weak signal here, but I hear the interval signal. And usually try to write into them often, because right now they're not issuing any QSLs. They were issuing ones via snail mail, physical ones, but they're still working on an EQSL. But they have a mailbox show Mondays, and if you want to listen to it, just go to vom.mn/en, and that's also where you can listen to all the services, all the daily half-hour programs in English, and that's vom.mn/en. And enjoy their programs, especially their mailbox show. And if you write in, you'll probably get your letter on the air, because unfortunately they don't get enough emails. And so I usually try and tell people, Write in, because there's got to be more people. Write in so they know people are listening, because especially transmissions are pretty distorted. What is going on WWCR? I don't want to know what's going on WWCR. But about Mongolia again, if you want to write to them, they're via email at vom_en@yahoo.com, or snail mail addresses, English section, Voice of Mongolia, P.O. Box 365, Ulaanbaatar 13, Mongolia. And I don't know why I have that memorized, but I do. But I sent them like a snail mail letter too, actually. I sent one like back in February, and they still haven't gotten it, so I don't know what's going on with the Mongolian post office or whatever. So let's see here. Let's try the China Radio International again, 13670. Is this the Esperanto broadcast? At least that's what it sounds like. I don't know for sure though. No, that sounds like German. To which, if it is, it's got to be like a 3-year-old German broadcast at this point. I think they went to this Just Music program in 2022. To which, at that point, it's like, why keep it on air? Like, if you're gonna put something on air, at least change it, like, every day or once a week. Because then nobody's gonna listen to it anymore if they've already listened to it. Well, maybe they would, but not every day, if you know what's gonna happen. That's just my personal opinion. I'll tune up again, see if there's anything new that's changed in the 22-meter band. Still impressed with that catch of China though on 13670. That's really good. It's not like it's barely there. I mean, sure, it's kind of barely there, but it's like audible. And I think when we passed 15.5, I think that was Spain, because on weekends I think they do sign on earlier. And then WWCR again. Because usually Spain signs on at 18 UTC for North America on weekdays.
I'm just sort of taking these off the top of my head as we go.
And there's 13870 again. Let's try the 15500. Yeah, it's pretty weak for now. 15520, see if it's anything different. Let's try CRI in French, 17765. Sometimes this comes in well. Although I haven't been receiving it lately. So I have no clue what's happened to it. But it's kind of there. Maybe, not really. We may never know. And I guess we could try the 13-meter band. I don't know if there will be much on there. I did find somebody's online cassette tape that somebody digitized and put on YouTube of various shortwave stations from 1982. They did a band scan going up like 5 kilohertz each at like, I think it was 13 UTC or something like that. And it was insane how many stations were on just 13 meters back in the day at a certain time at 13 UTC. It's almost quite sad to think of, you know, because this would carry not only just for Africa and places, but also to like here to North America. It'd probably carry very well. And they were all received in North America. I mean, I think they were using they're using like a Radio Shack, something, I think DX302 or what, I don't know. All I know is that it had the LCD screen like this, or whatever this type of thing was in the 1980s, probably LCD. And they said they could just use the metal window frame of their apartment. That's how low noise things were back then, I guess. And I actually don't know where the 25-meter or 13-meter band actually ends. I know at the 11-meter band, but not really this one. I think it ends there. One thing I missed was the BBC, what was that, 25.9 from Wolferton. I missed that a lot. I guess we could try. I don't think this will happen, but it's always a possibility. World Music Radio. To which, for all of you in Europe, Radio 208 is gone for 5970 and 1440. Audio stream actually ends today, and they've already shut down 1440. And it's because it's the same person who owns World Music Radio, and they said for being a low-power hobby station, they had to pay so much for licensing of songs and things like that. And so they also want to focus on World Music Radio. So unfortunately, that Radio 208 closed, but World Music Radio, from what they said they want to focus on World Music Radio, is not going anywhere for the time being. Yeah, we could try 15.7, although I don't know if that'll, didn't register my 5. There. Pretty quiet bands this afternoon. Oh, I think I missed the WWV report. Oh, yikes. I think I did on one. Yeah, I'm 2 minutes late, unfortunately. Bummer. I really gotta fix that clock. $14,670 again. I don't even think there's a hint of CHU right now. But we'll go back to this CRI, and then we're going to pan over to this tube TV I have over here. So we'll leave that on CRI, and we're going to pan over to this, most likely NTSC, maybe PAL, I don't know. Sony TV 511 that I featured many times, from manufactured in February 1978, says on the back. I don't know if this is like a TV you take out for camping, but it's got a pretty long antenna. Of course, I got this a couple of years ago, and I actually got like a station that doubled as an FM station on channel 6, because the channel 6 audio carrier for TV was on 87.75 megahertz, which is a frequency of the FM band. So a lot of stations actually who had a channel 6 that were like news stations back in the day did take advantage of that 87.7 of listen to us also in your car as well, because they could. And there's the CRI again. And of course that all ended June 12th, 2009. So I didn't see full power analog TV in US shut down. And then I did see that we had a local, like low powered, what they call them Franken FMs. And then the FCC sold more of the TV spectrum for phone companies, as they did in 2009 and in the 1980s. And since this TV was pre the 1982 whatever, it's got the UHF channels 70 to 83 that were all sold off. So TVs after that only go up to channel 69. And then they sold to channels 52, and then that's when analog forced to shut down because they didn't have enough bandwidth for digital and analog. And then now it's only down to like channels 38 or something. So when a channel says it's channel 59 or even like channel 2, we have a local channel 2 here. I mean, sure, they were channel 2 back in the day, but not anymore. It's actually like channel 30 something is what they actually broadcast on, which makes no sense to me. I think the closest station I have that used to broadcast analog was we have a PBS station here on channel 6, channel 30 something whatever, actual one, and channel 12. They actually broadcast on channel 13 instead of, but it shows us 12, but they analog times used to be as channel 12. But July 13th was when that station had to shut down. The FM station's still there, but I have no understanding of how it doesn't hear that channel anymore, if it really needs a video carrier, because the station's still there on 87.75 megahertz. In fact, actually on 87.75 megahertz if I go to this radio here, FM. And there it is, but it's actually 87.75. And so that was it's still there, but I can't hear it on this TV, and I don't understand why, unless it really needs like a sync or whatever. But on the second floor of my house, I have a little low power TV transmitter that barely goes far on channel 45, which I have it hooked up to my digital converter box. Kind of hard to see there. Really not best in bright light. It's running on 9D batteries right now. But it's running MeTV Tunes, because why not cartoons? And it's pretty good though. I can hook on my VCR, my computer, or anything to it, really. So it's quite an interesting thing. Out there, yeah, MeTV Tunes right there. And it's got the giant antenna here to move around. Although the spot I chose, I had it running when I brought it out here. It was all perfectly fine until I got to this spot, and then it didn't like me anymore. And on the side, there's the vertical hold, brightness, and contrast. And this is just the brightness turned all the way up on the TV. Normally I run it on the AC power cable it came with. It also has a separate DC one for 12 volts. So we're gonna pan back over to CRI here. Okay, it is still there. I thought the CRI faded out there. I was hoping not. And the sun is slowly hitting. It's 11:30 a.m. actually here, so the sun is slowly reaching over to me, and then I'll pan to a probably middle of backyard or whatsoever, and then so you can get the TV station better here. Some interesting music on CRI, whatever's going on there. Traditional music, which I respect that. And one thing when I got this TV with the antenna that my flat screen TV doesn't even show at all is when you tune these UHF channels, you can hear the cell phone. You can see the cell phone tower stuff, which is all that. And it covers this broad band of channels here, and you can kind of hear the sound. And when I got this TV, this cell towers in this area weren't here until they sold that spectrum. And then there's the TV transmitter again on channel 45. And then it's again around channels 58 through like 62 or whatever. 64 actually. And then there's one on bleed through of my TV transmitter. And then it's like channel 78 all the way to 83. It's more cell phone 4G stuff, so. And don't really get anything on VHF either, of course. I have hooked up my TV transmitter to transmit on like the converter box RF channels of standard channel 3 or 4, especially my VCR, but it doesn't really do well. I think the RF modulator I use to transmit on UHF is different powered or something, I guess, I don't know. And yeah, we'll pan back over to CRI now. Rocks. And it's kind of weak. It's there again still. Slowly coming back. I wouldn't be surprised if it's slowly fading out. Pretty pretty weak now, I will say. I don't know what happened to it. It's fading in and out there. It is now 17:30, so I don't know if there will be any new stations, but we will try the bands again and see if we get anything new. And there are more airplanes that are flying over. Very, very quiet bands. Usually only ever evenings or mornings. Mostly mornings is when I get most stations now, but that's it. In fact, I feel like South America, Europe, and Asia get more signals than probably us in North America. especially us in North America. I mean, there's not as many stations that are even targeting North America anymore. We have to try and find stations that beam just in the right direction to a different area that can be received here. And sometimes that's if it's like the Madagascar stations where they're beamed up into Africa and they come straight up to North America, or if it's some of the RF energy going the opposite direction of the beam. And usually that relies on propagation, and so when propagation isn't good, those frequencies and stations will obviously be weak. And that was Spain 17715. Very quiet bands. We'll try 19 meters again. I guess nowadays this is when SDRs come in handy. Just skip to where the signals are. And unfortunately it is pretty quiet. And faint signal from Spain, which this is the North American frequency actually, so I don't know why. I think South America is much stronger. It is, that's a first. I don't know why the South America one is stronger. Probably because 19 meters versus 16 meters. Kind of interesting that they chose 15.5 for North America this schedule season. All the other times since I've started, it's always been 17.855 for North America for the summer schedules, and 96.90 for the winter schedules. But I guess Spain tries to use an all-purpose frequency that will work for hours upon hours, because it seems they only use the couple frequencies and never change them for the time they're on the air. Of course, could also be a good thing though, because I mean, 15.500 at like 2 UTC before they sign off is amazing, signal-wise. But to me, I'm like, it couldn't hurt to move the frequencies around every now and then. Go from 18 to 21 hours on one frequency and then from 21 hours to another, especially during the winter, because there's no way 9690 is going to do well with that. Hello, Ditto 1958. It's one of the best, probably the only like a decent shortwave radio receiver I have. I was planning on bringing up my first shortwave receiver that I had before I even realized it was a shortwave receiver, but then I forgot it inside. And it's got analog tuning. And welcome to the stream. And still no WWCR 15825. Still trying to remember when they last used that. I felt like it was pretty recent. We'll go down to the 22 meter band here again. And see if that CRI and Esperanto or German or whatever is still on 13670 with an OK signal. Still kind of there, although it really faded out compared to 38 minutes ago. It's like barely there now. Either that or the propagation is again really bad. Kind of bummed I missed that solar report on WWV at 18 minutes. 2 minutes late to it. .22 meters is also not really any signals, except WWCR, of course. Because why not? And maybe a Radio Marti. Well, it used to be Radio Marti on 13820. I have thought about the DX286. It does look like a really good radio. I think it's, what is it? They use that like car chip and that are used in like the car radios, which just make them really great. I might also, I know when I started, I originally wanted to Texan PL990 or something like that, but those have been out for a while, so I think, like, if I were to go for another radio, I think I might wait and see if there's going to be another, like, excellent receiver that's going to pop out somewhere. Of course, I think if a nice receiver were to come out, I think I'd probably wait a little just to make sure and see what people say on it, because I don't want to buy it and then get stuck with a receiver that is, like, not that great, where the screen harmonics everywhere or whatever. And I just tuned way out of the 22 meter band there. We'll try 11710 again, Voice of Korea, which does not seem to be here anymore. And I am going to pause for a quick second because I'm going to move the where I'm sitting, because the sun is starting to move and shine on me, which normally isn't too bad, but with the TV we have over here, you cannot see it in the sunlight right now, so I'll just be back in like probably 1 minute or 2 minutes. Okay, and we are back. Unfortunately, closer to the house now, so more potential noise, but should be okay for now. No voice of Korea, so that's one thing we unfortunately do not have anymore. Although I think at one time when propagation was good, I did go outside once away from the house to get away from noise, and I heard the anthem, and I was like, what's going on? And I keep forgetting that the KCBS signs off with the national anthem of North Korea before the sign off, but the 11710 frequency is not coming in anymore to North America, which is fine because they've got 7 minutes probably left, 6 minutes till they have to sign off, so I'll probably be playing the national anthem here anyway. There's the 13670 CRI that's not really there anymore. We're going to try WWV and maybe WWVH 15 megahertz. I hear a faint tone in the back, so WWVH is there, but extremely weak. I kind of hear them there. Try 10 megahertz. Which of course for me is better than the 15. Get a good signal there, and then we'll try 5 megahertz. And all the receivers I had before this didn't ever go down to 2.5 megahertz, so it was quite nice to see that 2.5 megahertz is actually stronger for me than I thought it was going to be. Whereas 5 megahertz is weaker usually than the 2.5 for me.
17 hours, 46 minutes, coordinated universal time.
A good signal at that. Which sometimes it's nice to test, because when there's extreme solar storms and things, of course 2.5 megahertz isn't really a skip frequency, more ground waves, so sometimes, especially at night, usually never during the day with 5 megahertz, but at night you can usually skips, because right now 5 megahertz sounds like 2.5 megahertz with ground wave all day, where it's doesn't really change. But at nighttime, 5 megahertz, you can hear all the flutters and distortion of it crossing the ionosphere.
47 minutes, coordinated universal time.
And so we'll go back to 2.5 megahertz here again, and just wait for another minute identification. And gosh, how long have they been using these voices? 30 years now? I mean, because I know, what was it, early 90s, they did some digital voice tests, and then they had the probably most notable against shortwave listeners, the ones from the 1980s. It's a pretty good signal of them right now.
At the tone, 17 hours, 48 minutes, coordinated universal time.
And that taking sound is from my phone. Usually happens on medium wave too, especially I hear on the lower part of the medium wave band, even far away with my phone off, I'll hear a ticking sound kind of like that, goes, and I wonder if that has something to do with time or whatever with that, for sure. And I think the WWV transmitters, I think when they changed the voices in the early 1990s, they also got new transmitters. So these are like 10 years past the average transmitter lifetime of 20 years.
At the tone, 17 hours, 49 minutes, coordinated universal time.
But I mean, I know there's that backup transmitter in Wolferton of the Marconi that's from like the 60s, and so I wonder if it's all about how well they're taken care of, which is obviously usually number one big one, but I also wonder if it depends on the type of transmitter manufacturer and what parts they use, or if parts can be found or whatever. Sometimes I wonder, if it's parts and build quality that makes some of these last longer than others. Because that Voice of Mongolia transmitter is not the original. It's a 500 kilowatter from a Japan company from like 2003, but they only run like one side of it. I think one side seems to be like closer to the frequency because they're off frequency a little bit on 12085 than when they're on 12015, and so I wonder if one side
17 hours, 50 minutes, coordinated universal time.
But I wonder if they can just tune one side to 12015 and the other to 12085 and just keep them there, and that's why it's been like that. I mean, if you go on EIBI space, and go back to as far as the early 2000s, still lists Voice of Mongolia as using those same two frequencies to this day. I think they only changed frequencies when they were using a 100 kilowatt Soviet transmitter. And they also had French programming back in the day too, which is now not really played. They air English, Mongolian, they have half-hour programs, English, Mongolian, French, no, sorry, not French, English, Mongolian, Japanese, and Chinese. But they also have a half-an-hour Russian program that seems to be only available on the website.
Hours, 51 minutes, coordinated universal time.
Because they don't air that Russian program on shortwave, which is quite interesting to me. And then we're going to pan on over here again to this 1978 TV, which I think we had a stronger signal on the my low-powered TV transmitter, which I think is still running the Me TV tunes, yeah. and it's simple as I just right now again I have my digital converter box running into an RF modulator via the AV inputs because it has an AV out, and then just using AV inputs to the in part of the RF modulator, and then I use a coax cable. Well, first set it to channel 45, then I use a coax cable from the RF out on the RF modulator to the input coax on my amp, and then the output goes to a set of rabbit ear antennas, some RCA ones that the VHF rabbit ear antennas are extremely long, and I think it was built during sometime maybe in the 70s or 80s. But there's the TV transmitter again on 45, which I had to test. There was other frequencies too that could work well. Again, it can transmit on those band channels from the 80s that have been sold now, the channels 70 to 83. But it also works good on like channels 69, 68, 67. Can't really use it on any channels lower because that might be used by DTV stations. And so I tested channel 45. No interference from any of the 4G, 5G cell towers or by TV stations. Well, no TV stations can be up in these channels now, but no interference from cell phone towers. And I tested that by going through every single channel on it by just moving it up by one step and tuning on this TV. And 45 is a pretty good channel. I mean, it makes it pretty good out here. And what I am happy about it is that I didn't... I know some people have low-powered analog TV transmitters that go as far as their street until they go, and that one is... I'm sure if I plugged in like multiple amps I could do that, but I don't want to... I don't know how well that antenna would do. But I'm also glad it doesn't go that far, because I don't want the FCC knocking on my door. So yeah, more WWV. Once it hits top of the hour, we will retune the bands for new stations, unless I don't know if maybe we can get Voice of Korea 15245. Maybe we can get the interval signal. And, it's a jet airplane passing above. Although I don't think we would get them. Sometimes at 18 hours UTC, I will get Voice of Korea on 15245 on this European frequency very well, or at least audible in a sense. It's doing okay on there. Not really no signal right now, of course, but take a look at the maybe there's more Vatican radio that happens on 15565, but I don't think so. And so I think we'll just tune and wait and see. But let's go Spain, 17715. Maybe up that bandwidth a little more there. Let's try that North American frequency. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the 15500 beam to North America. That should be me, and it should be stronger, but 17715 beam to South America, or just Latin America in general, is coming in better. And I don't know if the other ones are on, but let's try 15390 to Africa. Nothing. Heard that one a faint carrier coming through the other day. I usually get all Spain frequencies, Middle East, North America, Latin America, target frequencies, but not Africa. Again, 15,500 North America is kind of there, but it's not really good signal. You see a 15,520 to the Middle East. Nothing really there either. So 17,715 is the go-to right now. And I forgot to mention this a while ago, but anybody interested in a request of a station, just give me the station and frequency, and I'll try and see if I can receive it. But okay signal from them. I don't know if BBC is using 15,400 for 18 hours UTC during these days. I haven't checked BBC frequencies. Usually get 12,095 from Madagascar and like 9,410 or something from Ascension Island, or at least that was 7,285 from B24 schedules, and I got good reception of those with the Bowbells interval signal. There it is, so I think we'll just get ID from Spain here. I still think that news intro is pretty cool. I guess I would listen to Spain more. I know I have a faint, like, high school Spanish for 2 years, almost soon to be 3 years of hopefully high school Spanish, but that's it basically. So don't know much. Not enough to like fully understand it. There's WWV going strong as usual. And new hour. Hopefully new stations on air for today that weren't on air an hour ago. And new frequencies. So let's try these out here. At 18 hours UTC. It is 12 p.m. in local time for me, so UTC minus 6 hours. Just slow 5 kilohertz steps each to see if there's anything. And then here's Spain again. 17715. I don't know if they're getting ready for football coverage. And that's a extremely quiet 16-meter band. Very quiet, unfortunately. What was it, 15140, that radio Vanuatu used to be on during daytime? Certainly not anymore, unfortunately. Probably check and see if Cuba's still there at some point. Ah. They're there. They're faint. Voice of Korea. I had a feeling they would come in. But they're very, very faint. They're there. So it's nice to hear them. Recently, I've just been listening to KBS World Radio instead of Voice of Korea's English broadcast at those times because of the how they use the 15575 frequency, which is only really great for North American summer times when propagation is good. So certain days it can be received and certain days it can't. Today was one of those, and I have a tape of interval signal and sign on, which I will play here in a little bit. And that was I usually listen at that time because both Voice of Korea and KBS World Radio English broadcasts are on at the same time for an hour. But mostly listen to KBS World Radio this season because I can't get them in the winter season. Except maybe at nighttime at like 0102 when they do Spanish to North America. Then I can usually hear them in Spanish at least. And I remember there was a reason why they use that frequency, but I can't remember off the top of my head. I know they have various transmitters that are rated at 100 kilowatts and ones that are rated at 250 kilowatts. And I think they use the 250 kilowatt ones for North America and like far distance, far reaching places like Europe and things. Although maybe not, but I know like Southeast Asia and things just use 100 kilowatts because it's not too far away. Not as far as compared to shooting halfway across the world compared to like South Korea to Vietnam or whatever, which would actually be true because they do have half-an-hour Vietnamese programs. There's Spain, Radio Exterior de España, 15.5 megahertz to North America, which should be coming in stronger. I don't know why. And fan carrier of the Middle East, frequency of Spain, 15520. I think it's like Middle East and beyond. And certainly miss Voice of America. And good morning, Smiley. I'm doing good, doing good. It is 12 o'clock here, so it's nice. Nice sunny day out. Compared to yesterday, it was pretty cloudy. Yeah, well, I was live the 2 days ago, and I think my phone still automatically put that as private viewing, so I need to set that as public. Which I usually do with a lot of my live streams so people can go back and look. Yeah, it was not too bad. But before that, I hadn't been live for a long time. It's not really much on the bands. Well, there is stuff on the bands, but just solar storms and things like that, which in I think 19 minutes from now should get the solar storm report on WWV, so we'll do the 22 meter band here now. Hopefully see if we get anything on 22 meters. With just the slow steps. Very, very quiet, not much stations. Unless there's a noise floor that's like getting like the most extreme weak stations block out of respective WWCR, which is pretty standard to hear them. And then I think this time we'll tune the more WWCR. Tune the 25 meter band backwards, starting from 12.1 to 11.6. Although I think some noise may beg to differ on us receiving any stations in this band. And here in a few minutes I will play that sign-on of KBS World Radio I got this morning on 15.575. Kind of just cut straight into programming. They have this, like, I think they play K-pop on weekends, so I may record the sign-on during a weekday again where they have that, the sign-on music. Some sort of song, but it's composed by the KBS Symphony Orchestra. And the news intro and things that they do for the weekdays. And we'll always remember Radio Marti 11860. Haven't checked the status of the Greenville site. I don't know if they've gotten power back or at least AC to keep those transmitters in stable temperatures. So otherwise there's no way to resurrect it, and then that would be the last government station, government shortwave station in the US for sure. That would have to close. And I think they have 500 kilowatt transmitters that I don't know if they sit or if they run them at half power or something, but when Greenville was on the air, they were kind of wasted the last couple of years because even as far back as the early 90s, there's somebody had which is published now, a tour of the Greenville Site A, which of course is now closed and dismantled. Well, antennas are, at least I think transmitters still sitting there, but they were saying they don't need that much power of 500 kilowatts back then. Which still comes to my theory of I wonder if a lot of stations might have been using 500 kilowatts then compared to now was because of the receivers and things and stations being crowded together, that especially when you're getting interference of the carriers from stations 5 kilohertz apart with those squeal sounds that could interfere with a weak station you're trying to listen to if there's a strong station next to you. So I think I wonder if it was just every station battling to be the strongest station in the band. But maybe not. Never know with past shortwave. And that was the end of the 25 meter band. I'm going to see if I can... Okay, no problem. See if I can get the KBS World Radio. Which first I actually have something on this tape of just presented to you. It's a oldies station here, which I was trying to just record the ID on tape, and I did successfully, but I also didn't know they did the emergency space the name of it there. The emergency alert system test, which I didn't even know they did those, and that was yesterday at 4 p.m. my time, but here they are. And then it follows with the KBS World Radio interval signal sign-on.
Of the emergency alert system. If this had been an actual emergency, an official message would have followed the alert tone. The station serves the Denver metro area. This concludes this test of the emergency alert system.
You're listening to Legends Radio, KLVZ, 810 AM and HD, Brighton, Denver. KLVZ FM 94.3 and 95.3. Streaming at legends953.com.
I moved a speaker over here, so if it got louder, that was why. And pause real quick here.
World Radio, Seoul, the Republic of Korea. 대한민국 서울에서 보내드리는 월드 라디오입니다. This is KBS World Radio, from Seoul, the Republic of Korea. 여기는 대한민국 서울에서 보내드리는 KBS 월드 라디오입니다. This is KBS World Radio, coming from Seoul, the Republic of Korea. 여기는 대한민국 서울에서 보내드리는 KBS 월드 라디오입니다. KBS World Radio, coming from Seoul, the Republic of Korea. 여기는 대한민국 서울에서 보내드리는 KBS 월드 라디오입니다. This is KBS World Radio, coming from Seoul, the Republic of Korea. 여기는 대한민국 서울에서 보내드리는 KBS 월드 라디오입니다. Hello and welcome to Weekend Playlist Part 2 on KBS World Radio, and I'm your host, Alexander. We'll start this hour with 2 p.m. at Toy Hello Food.
Starts into the music, but I swear I felt like I probably recorded the whole interval 5 minutes. I mean, they run the interval signal for 5 minutes, but the carrier at least is on for like 10 minutes before the program starts. I think it starts at, yeah, like 10 minutes before the top of the hour, and then like interval signal for 5 minutes of that. But I enjoy that interval signal. I think it's been at least the same one since the 1980s, from recordings I've heard, with of course different ID of it being saying this is Radio Korea instead of KBS World Radio. And I think we'll keep the I think I ran 2 minutes late again for the WWV thing. That's okay. Probably not too much longer on this stream as my battery's slowly getting low. We've been going for an hour and 40 minutes, and I aim to go for 2 hours, so we will probably put this on Spain here, 15500. Not much of a good signal there, actually. Let's try the 17715, because that was the best. With a good station, good signal. Which I think everything at the former Costa Rica relay station that they had until its closure in 2014, I think everything is still there. I think antennas and transmitters are still there, which I'm wondering, was it too much of a hassle to get out of there, or just better to abandon it, or what? I don't know. Certainly don't make the rules about that. Okay, signal from them for sure. Of the Spain there. Yeah, good signal from Spain, that's for sure. Compared to not receiving some things, that's for sure. And I've popped in another tape that we will rewind. It's that showed it in a past stream, so if you were there, apologies if you have to hear more repeats again of tapes, but this is probably like my first tape of when I started getting into shortwave broadcasts in summer of 2022. But had been interested in number stations as early as September, October. Well, summer, I should say, summer in North America, so June, August of 2022, but I think it was, I do remember listening to Radio Romania sometime once. I was like, I'm just going to sit down and listen to this, went on a QSDR and listened to a DRM broadcast of them for an hour and enjoyed it, and that was in, I think, April of 2022. And although I'd listened to shortwave radio broadcasts, or at least the number stations and things, in like September, October of 2021.
Pero en realidad dicen que son una farsa que responde a intereses privados y que no generan un trabajo. Temen que estos proyectos puedan influir también en la despoblación de las zonas rurales.
So good signal from them. We'll try CHU again.
Una legislación específica con la participación pública.
There's a good signal from them at all, I don't know. Kind of, not really there, I would say. If it is there at all. Last live stream we were getting it, but it was like 2 in the afternoon instead. And then we got another clip recorded sometime in 2022 as well. I think this is off the Netherlands SDR, and I think it was BBC for sure, BBC World Service, sometime off of it wasn't Wolverton. I think it might have been like maybe the Kranji relay station, or maybe I think it was maybe the Oman relay, but here's what it was.
Barcelona managed to register 80% of their new signings. They don't win, they're La Liga up.
The newsread is next. This is the BBC World Service, the world's radio station.
Hello and welcome to the newsroom. William Ruto has been declared the new president of Kenya.
The people of Kenya, led by the foot.
Well, I guess we could look at whenever William Ruto was declared president.
The world's radio station.
And then that was the same broadcast startup from
Hello
Wolverton.
and welcome to the newsroom. William Ruto has been declared the new president of Kenya.
The people of Kenya, led by
And then the voice of Turkey sign. So they've changed their sign. They don't list every single English frequency now anymore.
This is the Voice of Turkey's English language transmission broadcasting from Ankara in the 49-meter band between 1830 and 1930 UTC on 5945 kHz to Europe, between 2030 and 2130 UTC in the 31-meter band on 9875 kHz to South Asia and Australia, between 2200 and 2300 UTC in the 31-meter band, and on 9820 kHz to Europe, Eastern USA and Canada, and in the 25-meter band on 11660 kHz between 1630 and 1730 UTC to Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, Uzbekistan, and Turkmenistan. The Voice of Turkey is also beamed between 0300 and 0400 UTC in the 41-meter band and on 7275 kHz to Europe, the USA, Eastern Canada, and Cuba, between 0300 and 0400 UTC in the 49-meter band on 6165 kHz to Iraq, Syria, Iran, and the Arabian Peninsula. You can listen to us over the Turksat 3A and 4A satellites and on the internet at www.trt.net.tr through the Voice of Turkey link. Please note that transmissions broadcast between 2200 and 2300 UTC and between 0300 and 0400 UTC have been pre-recorded. Our email address is englishdesk@trt.net.tr.
And now TRT Voice of Turkey presents news in English.
Of course, both broadcasts to North America and stuff had to be pre-recorded, but I mean, I can't blame them. It was like 2 p.m., whatever, or 1 a.m., like very early morning for them, so I can't blame them. I got WWV as a standby here for the next, I got like 12 minutes left in this live stream that I plan to do, so I'll load another clip from my archives here. And unfortunately, I didn't have good receivers at this time, so a lot of these recordings were unfortunately from SDRs. And so that's why this current tape I'm making is all stuff I've received off my D808.
30 minutes.
It's just different.
Coordinated Universal Time.
Except that one Radio New Zealand recording that I have.
National Institute of Standards and Technology Time. This is radio station WWV, Fort Collins, Colorado, broadcasting on internationally allocated standard carrier frequencies of 2.5, 5, 10, 15, and 20 megahertz, providing time of day, standard time interval, and other related information. Inquiries regarding these transmissions may be directed to the National Institute of Standards and Technology, radio station WWV, 2000 East County Road 58, Fort Collins, Colorado, 80524.
Well, that was nice. I wasn't expecting to get the ID, but there you go. So, nice to hear WWV there.
At the tone, 18 hours, 31 minutes, Coordinated Universal Time.
Nice signal from them for sure. 2.5 again, always strong for me. So here's a interesting recording I have of China Radio International signing on via the Mali relay. It does run a little slow because the tape recorder I was using that time was a new one, so it had not really good wow and flutter, but the speed was also a little too fast. So when I was recording and things, so that's why it sounds slow on this one, is because it was playing the cassette player originally before that I had in 2023 was playing faster than the tapes normally run at 1 7/8 inches per second. But something was interesting with this China Radio International interval signal when this happened. It got all like fluttery sounding, like or things like that. So this one was pretty interesting to receive.
Aquí a Radio Internacional da China.
Aqui a Rádio Internacional da China.
Oh, that was sign on from Portuguese, but I don't know why the signal went like that, and I was there too, and I was like, that was for me, I thought that was pretty interesting. I didn't expect anything like that to happen. Probably one of the times I've only ever heard China Radio International do mistakes. Don't really see them make much mistakes. Let me see, what was the time of that recording? It was okay, so it was on 13.63 megahertz, 1930 UTC on April 29th of 2023. But I wasn't expecting to hear something like that. So that was a interesting time for me. And then we could try 15245 again, the voice of Korea. Sounds like it might be faintly there. Maybe not. Don't know much for sure about that. Could be though. I don't know. Well, I load up another recording because there's not much on during the afternoon and evenings. Unfortunately, I guess maybe I should do earlier ones. So figure out a station here. We can do 13089, see if any of that stuff is on. The marine weather stuff now. Let's try Trenton military. Let's go in single sideband. Let's see here. Try 1503 for the no report received station. But not really getting anything. Hello! Hope you are doing well. But I think I might have to, while I load another, well, not load another, but while I find the right spot on the cassette tape, let's go back to WWV, because why not? So we got an okay signal from them. on 2.5 megahertz. Looking for the specific part. Oh, very nice. S5. Oh, I'm trying to remember. I think that's... I can't remember how well that is. I don't... Or bad. I can't remember. Oh, you RX pretty good. Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure S5 was really good if your noise floor was S5. My noise floor is certainly not that, and that's why I'm outside. And I guess while we check, let's, while we're here, while I'm looking for the clip, let's check my TV transmitter, my low-powered analog TV transmitter on my 1978 Sony TV running MeTV Tunes, hooked up to my converter box. And it's on channel 45 is what I have it set to. It's got an okay signal out in the backyard. Very fuzzy, though. Yeah, I don't really have an antenna outside, but I know the telescopic antenna outside for me is really... And so that's the low-powered analog TV transmitter, an NTSC. Just got it hooked up from an RF modulator from my digital converter box. This is actually a digital TV station in my area. Hooked up to an RF modulator, and then over an amplifier on channel 45, and then an amplifier to boost the signal through a pair of rabbit ears on the second story of a house. So it's pretty good. Yeah, DBU isn't the best, but I think that's why the D808 also has the dB as well. Although I don't know if that really measures the noise on it. So there's WWV again. While trying to find a specific clip of a recording I have here, but I might wait to come back for it again, because I'm going to replay something on my last live stream that I did, which need to go make public here soon. But this was from, again, when I started shortwave broadcast. Started listening to shortwave broadcasts in 2022, which includes BBC World Service and things, and a complete 1-hour English broadcast of Radio Romania International on 5945 22 UTC from October 10th of 2022. But here's the at least the first thing that's on the tape. Should start here any moment.
Newsweek for a quarter of a century, covering 8 presidents and 12 presidential campaigns. He was speaking to Farhana Haider in 2014 for this edition of Witness History. And for more landmark moments in US presidential history, make sure to go to our website.
You're listening to the BBC World Service, and here's what's happening in the studio this week. This week's In the Studio is buzzing with the sounds and music of the British contemporary classical composer Sally Beamish. Follow Sally as she researches, rehearses, and puts on her new harp concerto live at the BBC Proms in London. In the Studio, Tuesday at 10:30 GMT. In 30 minutes, Sports Today. Here's James Gregg.
We've got news from...
It's 18 hours GMT. I'm Jackie Leonard. This is the newsroom from the BBC World Service. One of the 3 white men who murdered the black jogger Ahmaud Arbery in the United States in 2020 has been given a second life sentence for federal hate crimes. Much-needed aid has begun crossing into Gaza after the signing of a ceasefire between Israel and Palestinian militants. A report has suggested that Russia is struggling to maintain its stocks of weapons because they contain high-tech components only made in the West.
Yes, that is a shortwave recording. BBC World Service. I think it was sometime in August of 2023. And, not 2023, 2022. And I was still new to the hobby, didn't know much things. I went back on the Wayback Machine. I have an old schedule, and I think that was the Kranji Singapore relay station, if I was correct. And while we wait for this to fast forward, it's got a lot of different shortwave broadcast things, sign-ons from SDRs, and we might just flip through this for the next couple of minutes here and see if where we are at on
What's real for Tyler Africa?
So that was CGTN radio.
This is CGTN Radio. Hear the difference.
Now the news. I'm Shin Begum. Chinese President Xi Jinping has sent a message of condolence to...
So that was a pretty good, I remember that was 18 hours UTC was what that one was. The Radio Romania. With Romania, there we go, 5945. From, yeah, to the 10th. We'll get the complete sign on, which I should pause real quick, because this was before the summer of 2023. When they had a budget cut where they couldn't, to each target area, they couldn't use 2 frequencies instead of, they had to go from 2 frequencies to 1, which is a bummer because if one frequency is good, you get tuned to the other. And this was before they used that like text-to-speech sign-on for the sign-on and sign-off, which now they do a person in the studio for the sign-off, but not for the sign-on. And so, yeah, I don't know what happened to that. But this was like maybe second or third time I listened to Radio Romania was when I recorded this. And it's a complete broadcast too.
Radio Romania International. You are listening to our 1-hour broadcast in English for listeners in Western Europe and Japan. We can also be heard on the internet at www.rri.ro Channel 1. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and other social media platforms. Our programs are also available on TuneIn, Radio Romania International 1, and via satellite Eutelsat 16A on 11,512 MHz, vertical polarization, azimuth 16 degrees east, Symbol rate 29,950 megasymbols per second. Standard DVB AS2. Modulation 8 PSK. Audio PID 510. We wish you good reception conditions. This is Mihaela Ignatescu with the news, the headlines. Romania borrows 600 million euros from the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development for reforms and the management of the humanitarian crisis caused by the war in Ukraine. The G7 foreign ministers call on Russia to immediately transfer the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant to Ukraine's control. And Romania will participate with 11 crews and 39 athletes at the European Rowing Championships in Munich. The Romanian...
I was still so new to the hobby that with all that distortion and things, I was so annoyed with it. And little did I know that I would learn to filter it out. But if I rewind here, I can get the sign off. I did hear about elections. I know something happened. I think I was listening to a mailbag program, which I still have a recording of when they read out my letter on air from the program, and I have 2 QSLs upstairs actually in my room from them. But I heard about on the mailbox program that with the original president was set up by Russia or something, and so kind of good for you guys. This was the first time I probably heard a Romanian folk song. Man, this takes me back. I remember this broadcast. And just what was nice about that back then was I was just so new to where I was like, this signal, that signal, this signal, what's this signal and what's that signal? Where it's like, I know so many of the stations now that it's like, I know this station comes in and that station comes in. And there's one night I wanted to hear Radio Armenia, and that was actually when it was the North American West Coast broadcast. And when I heard them on my receiver, that was the first time I received Romania, and I was so happy that night. It was like 9 o'clock at night, but it was so worth hearing them. And if you go back, I have a recording uploaded to my YouTube channel of the interval signal from my radio around that time on cassette. But the cassette tape is snapped and broken right now, and so I need to fix it still. But it's not on the damaged part, so. And here's the sign off.
And with that, our broadcast in English for listeners in Western Europe and Japan has come to an end. You can listen to our next program for Western Europe tomorrow at 05:30 hours UTC on 7325 kHz in the DRM system and on 9660 kHz in analog system. Listeners in Japan can listen to our next program tomorrow at 2200 hours UTC on 7325 and 9790 kHz. We can also be heard on the internet at www.rri.ro. If you have any comments or suggestions, please write an email at engl@rri.ro. Goodbye.
With Radio Armenia on this tape right here, and may wait a couple years till I do that, till I feel even more nostalgic of like, man, that was when I started shortwave and things. And I remember I would listen to an SDR on that because it was just so clear. And I remember that broadcast it'd be at 4 o'clock for me, but my school would get out at 4:05 p.m. and so I'd be always upset that I'd miss like the first 5 minutes of whatever it was. But I would bike home listening to that. And then we fast forward again to 2023, and I have this sign-on, and like all of the tape on that side is all just Radio New Zealand from March 27th of 2023 on 7390 in the morning at like 13 UTC. And that was when I started listening to shortwave in the morning and realizing that there were so many signals from Asia that would come in very well at that time. But that was at March 27th, 2023. I think they say it at like the end of the tape, the very end of like, here's the latest things for this date, you know? And so we have the sign on. It is a little noisy because when I recorded it, there was a plasma TV on in the other room, but thankfully it got turned off like halfway through the recording, so it got better. But just to show how Radio New Zealand could get through so much. To which I'll fast forward that a little bit because it's just blanks and me sitting there. Have this receiver recorded on anymore because it was not sensitive. I compared it with Radio Japan, and it was the difference of barely hearing it carry in two directions.
The National Party leader says a British anti-transgender activist has the right to free speech in New Zealand. Kelly J. King Minchell, also known as Cozy Tiger, left her rally in central Auckland on Saturday without speaking. She was met with thousands of noisy counter-protesters and would not have been heard. She also had tomato juice poured on her head just before she was due to speak. Ms. King Mitchell then...
Okay then, well I didn't know about hearing that, of tomato juice being poured on somebody's head. Well, okay then. And before I go, because fortunately my battery's getting low, and I was planning on 2 hours. Hope to do maybe another live stream probably next week or something. We are going to pull out my current shortwave radio tape, and we'll just play a couple of things from things I've recorded like on May 20th of Vatican Radio, which on this tape I have a recording of Vatican Radio from when they were relayed via Greenville, which now it's via the actual Vatican state transmitter for the programs that were relayed from Greenville because of the close downs. Yeah, I'll probably be heading off here soon. Actually, my phone's at 9%, but I will try and get through a couple of these recordings here, and then we'll see where we're at, if I can get to there. Let's see, what did you want me to try? 28074, while that's rewinding, which the TV is actually a good thing I don't have it on right now because it runs on 9 D batteries, and then my boombox runs off of 6, so that's why I usually run them off the cord. Let's see here, 28074. 28074. Nothing that I can hear, unfortunately. Okay, that was the CHU Canada time signal. Okay, let's see here. I actually have a recording right here from May 20th of the CHU time signal. Let's see here, from May 20th on 7:05.
1 hour.
Rewind's way too fast.
CHU Canada, Coordinated Universal Time, 1 hour, 40 minutes.
So it's good reception of CHU that night on the D808. We'll fast forward a little bit here for faint pips of the RWM time signal there. And if we fast forward, let's see here, we have a keep fast forwarding here. This was at, I think, 01 hours. About to go into 02 hours. And so we start here. And just wait, here we go. Gonna get loud for a second. Which unfortunately I am kind of rushed because of phone battery and things, but I am going to leave off with a recording from May. This is first time I heard KBS World Radio, and this is direct off my radio, and again from the South Korea transmitter. Oh, hands in the way. 15575 of a recording I do have, and also keep in mind for the Radio New Zealand interval signal because I tried to get both at the same time. But once I do find it, thank you all for joining me, and hope to see you all in the next live stream. And I should probably try and do mostly open this month now because of school's no longer in session right now, but probably do mostly Saturday and Sunday live streams morning, so that way lots of people can join from Europe and things. So let's see here, almost there. The beauty of rewinding and then playing and figuring out where you are on the tape. Alright. Oh, close. Okay. Fast forward a little. Alright. And so then I'll leave it with this one, and again, thank you all everyone for joining, and hope to see you all in the next one. So just wait for this to go. Alright, here we go.
World Radio coming from Seoul, the Republic of Korea.
여기는 대한민국 서울에서 보내주시는 KBS 월드 라디오입니다.
KBS World Radio coming from Seoul, the Republic of Korea.
여기는 대한민국 서울에서 보내드리는 KBS 월드 라디오입니다.
The International Journal of Food
overseas service of the Korean Broadcasting System, coming to you from Seoul, the capital of the Republic of Korea. We now begin today's English broadcast on KBS World Radio. From Seoul, Korea, KBS World Radio News Today starts right now.
On today's broadcast, President Yoon Suk-yeol lauds children as the nation's main character and its future. North Korea continues criticism of the South Korea-U.S. agreement on strengthening Washington's extended